Hi, it's me again. I'm Nafit Salama. In this short video, we'll talk about how to use ClearPass and Cisco TACACS Plus admin authentication. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to add Cisco as an ad device to ClearPass, how to create the action or actions, that's also called enforcement profile, how to create the condition or conditions to take certain action. Then we will move on to how to create the service. We'll show you how to integrate as well ClearPass with the Active Directory. Then we will also touch on the sample Cisco switch configuration to integrate with the ClearPass. And the last, we will test the configuration when you connect to, when you authenticate admin user to a Cisco switch. Let's go. So now there are a few steps to follow. Step number one, we would like to add the Cisco switch as an ad device, meaning ClearPass and Cisco, they have to agree to talk to each other if you like. We do this from the configuration tab. You go to network and then you go to devices. Now under devices, you should be able to see the list of devices that you have already added into the to the system. In this case, I have already added a bunch of devices, including Cisco. Obviously, it depends on the device IP, and you can add multiple of those, but this is just an example to show you how to add the device. So to do this, you will add a device. You will then provide device name, IP address, details, and this description. If that device is going to authenticate users, then probably you need to go for the radius, as well as TACACS, any other settings. Now, our device is Cisco, so we're going to go for Cisco here. You can find different types of Cisco devices. You click on Cisco and you add the device details. So the device has already been added. You look at this, the device has a name, IP. Now, you can add other things. One of the things that I have added is attributes. Now, in attributes, it's an optional step. You can add it. I would like to add it to use it as a condition in the service to uniquely identify the service. In the attribute, there are a list of attributes that are built in here. You can add your own, obviously, but device type is one of them. Now the value, you can add your value. This is something you type. So you're going to type Cisco switch. This is something you type, you add. Now you save it. This device has been added. And so the ClearPass, when the request comes from Cisco device to authenticate, whether that's radius or TACACS Plus, ClearPass will honor it and accept it. So that's step number one. Step number two, before we create the service, we need to talk about the actions that will be taken or the action. In this case, it is TACACS. So in ClearPass, the action is under the enforcement and the action under enforcement profile. Here I have added a bunch of actions. You can filter, so you have many more actions. I just filter based on Cisco value, and I created two actions, one called TACACS. Again, the name of the action should be something intuitive, will give you an indication what you're trying to do. So in the action here, when you need to add an action, you give it a name and all that stuff, but then the important thing is the type. And to do this, you need to add. And when you add, you select the template. So in this case, we are talking about the TACACS Plus. So in the template has to be TACACS Plus base enforcement. That's a template. You give it a name, let's say 15, and then you accept. So you leave this on everything as is. We don't touch it. We have not created any device group. So we go to services. So level 15 now, and for that we need to select what service you would like to push for. So in this case we are talking about the CLI command, which we call shell. So you need to add shell here in this case, and in this case this becomes available, so the shell, and you need to send back privilege level, so we can just start typing, which is this one, and the value for that privilege level that Cisco switch will accept is 15. It means I'm sending back a privilege level for the user. There's in the commands here, now you can select what commands it is possible to use. If I take this box without specifying anything, it means all commands are permitted at this level. right? So there's nothing here. Summary, they will summarize what this service, and we're going to save it. Once you save it, you have that service available. You're going to repeat the same process for level 1, privilege level 1 as well. So the result will be as such. So now we have two of those. One is privilege level 1. We send them back, and you can see the name and description. In the service again, we go for the shell privilege level 1. Cisco switch will accept privilege level 1 from ClearPass, right? The intention is for this Cisco switch to be integrated into the Active Directory. So when the user connects, ClearPass will check the Active Directory settings, and in the Active Directory we created two groups for the demo purpose. One's called senior admins and the other one's called junior admins. And the users who will authenticate, the admin users, ClearPass will consult the Active Directory and get the attribute back from them. So I'm going to show you what Active Directory looks like, a quick overview, and then ClearPass has been integrated with Active Directory, and then we will see how that can be used to send back attributes to for the admin user. Notice this ClearPass has been integrated with Active Directory, so we go to administration here, you click on the server configuration, and you can click on the ClearPass itself. You will notice this has been added. Obviously, to add, you need to provide your Active Directory details. So this already been added. Second thing, in the authentication, we have made Active Directory as part of the authentication. We'll come back, we'll have a look at this. You go to the configuration. In the authentication, there are two sides or two entries here. In the authentication source, we added Active Directory as an authentication source. Again, you'll provide the details. So Active Directory, and the type is Active Directory here, and they provide the details of your Active Directory servers. Keep in mind, the host name is a DNS name in this case, and this means the ClearPass plus the Active Directory should be able to communicate with DNS, and should be able to translate this DNS into even NetBIOS. This, you don't type it here. That's a NetBIOS name, will be translated into NetBIOS name. Now, the other thing in the Active Directory, we are in this demonstration interested in an attribute that's called member of. When you authenticate, I'm interested to get member of. So it means you are telling ClearPass is going to tell Active Directory domain controller, can you please return to me these values? And the value we're interested in here is member of. So we're going to see that when the user or admin user logs in, that admin user will have its membership of a group will be retained. And I'm going to say, ClearPass is going to say, okay, I'm going to use that as role and attribute. So I can use it as my attribute, so I can take decision. So that's sorted, that's all done. So you will have done this, basically. We created the actions. Remember, we have created the actions, two actions. We come to the policy. What is a policy? Enforcement policy is the logic, like kind of if statement. If this, do that. And there are multiple ways to use this enforcement policy. I have created one enforcement policy I call the Cisco switch enforcement policy. You click on this and you notice, if you go back, you notice the type. This is Cisco enforcement policy. This is the name you give it, and there's some built-in ones, but you create this one and says TACACS Plus. That's what we are interested in. And we click on that, you'll see that's the name, that's the description, and the enforcement type. Obviously, if you'd like to start from scratch, you can copy any of these, but you can always add. Click on add, and you give it a name and all that stuff. And then you have to specify the default profile, meaning what is the default action if your conditions are not met. So here, the type, look, enforcement type, you say TACACS. And you're going to say default profile, meaning default enforcement profile, default action It means if condition or conditions are not met, what I'm going to do. So ClearPass is going to say, okay, if your conditions are not met, we have selected default action to be a privileged one. Meaning, based on the conditions, what we're going to see now in a sec, right? So we're going to cancel this one because we already created one. And if we just edit this and have a look, if we go to the enforcement, we have one condition here. Make it simple. So again, the default profile, default action is this. Send back a privilege level 1. And the rules, I said, again, there are multiple different ways to go about this. But the way I've done it, because it's simple, if you edit the rule, I added a new rule, and the type is, if you like, you start typing here, and it will automatically list things. I'm interested in authorization based on Active Directory. And when Active Directory returns a member of that contains SNR, which is the name of the group or part of the group name, I'll take this action. Obviously, if that is not met, so if anything doesn't contain senior or SNR in the group name membership of, it will take the default action. So here in the enforcement, it's going to take default action unless this condition is fulfilled. It will take this action. So one of these two possibilities, either action 15 or action privilege level 1. So if we have satisfied this condition, then ClearPass will push back to the switch privilege level 15. Otherwise, it will go for default action, which is privilege level 1. So if you look at the summary here, you can clearly see the default profile or default action and the one condition we have for this specific enforcement policy. We would like to go now to create the service. Now there are two ways to go about to create a service. You can create the service using a wizard, like in this case, you can go for the wizard. And you can go to the full wizard if you like, and then you scroll down TACACS enforcement, and you can go about the name, like in this case Cisco, and again what kind of conditions and all the details, or you can go manual if you like. So you can go service, add a service manually, right, and then select, in this case you're going to select the TACACS enforcement. So things will look different now. Right. We have already created the service. This is the service, and I would like to make it unique in a sense that if I click on this, the condition or conditions in this service should be uniquely identifying these Cisco switch or switches. For example, when you add a service, you will have two conditions, right? So you can go to the service and type your conditions. So simply speaking, you just start typing, and it will show you if there's a built-in one connection. And I selected, look into this one, the NAD IP, right? So you can just type, or you'll be NAD IP options, equals or contains, or there are multiple options, and we said equals. It means this service will only serve this specific request that comes from that specific switch that has 10.1.10.5. I could have stopped here if I wanted to, but then I wanted to make it more specific to that switch. And remember the device attributes we've created earlier when we added the device. I'm using this device attribute that's called device, the type, and the name of that device attribute is device type equals to Cisco switch. Any device attribute you add will become available in the value. So I added a bunch of those for different types of devices. You notice that these are now available. Why this is available, or these are available, because when we have added them under devices, they were Cisco switch, and this is the attribute we have added. So we can use it as a condition to the service. For that, so we go back to the service, and the Cisco service here, we added assume, and we have these two conditions. In the authentication, you select the authentication source. From where do we authenticate that admin user? And previously we have added Active Directory. So Active Directory was added. We wanted also, again, it depends on your source of authentication, local repository. We've added local repository. So they're going to try one of these two. So they're going to try from the top down. So we can move up this one. So they're going to try Active Directory first and then local repository. In this example, we are not using any role mapping, so we're going to leave it empty. And in the enforcement, we're going to use our enforcement profile that we have created. We call the Cisco enforcement policy. So that's the policy and has this condition, right? So now we created the profile, the enforcement policy, the logic. We connected to the Active Directory domain. We have used Active Directory as an authentication source, and then eventually we went to create the service. And all of them were TACACS based. Of course, we have added a device to be part of the listed or accepted devices. In the domain controller Active Directory, I'm going to show you the two groups I have created and the two users. These are admin users. So if we go to Tools, Active Directory users and computers. Okay, so in here, I've created two groups. I call them, one of them is called Senior Admins Group, Security Group. And the other one is called Junior Admins. So if you scroll up, the Junior Admins. And there are two users. There are two users I have created. One's called Senior Admin and Junior Admin as well, right? So Junior Admin as a user and Senior Admin. Notice if you double click and say properties, you'll see this user is a member of a group. This is the Junior Admin user, and that is a member of group called Junior Admin, JNR Admins. The same applies, or similar thing applies to the Senior Admin. We can look at that as a member of a Senior Admin group. So logic is you connect the user, authenticate, and then they will look at the group membership, and based on that group membership, the enforcement policy will take certain action. Right. Now, what we need to do, of course, we need to go to Cisco. So leave a copy of this configuration. So I left it in a Word document here. So again, you use a name. This is I've just created locally in case if you lose connection to the ClearPass is not reachable, you are not locked out. So there's a local admin with a privilege 15 you can always use. The AAA authentication, these are the settings. These settings are based on Cisco Switch 2960X. You can, of course, consult documentation for that, for other switches. And then the AAA authorization section, you can see what I've done here, and then the accounting where they can look at start, stop, and details of traffic that is communicated between the the admin and the Cisco device. So I'm going to leave a copy of this configuration down in the comments, so you can take a copy paste and you can paste it. If we switch back to the Cisco itself, Cisco switch, if you go to the access tracker, so what we're going to do now, we will try to authenticate using Senior Admin, and we'll look at the results in the ClearPass. We will try to authenticate. So here, username, Senior Admin. This is the username that exists on Active Directory. And you provide your password. So we look then straight into the privilege mode. Now, if you look at ClearPass, ClearPass should have an entry now. If you click on ClearPass, you'll find the authorization, one command, which is the basic command, the shell executive command. So, of course, alert because there's no local, that's fine. And authorization, you see. Now, if we issue a command on Cisco Switch, let's say I'd like to go to config T, and we can double check now back ClearPass. You're going to see ClearPass has added authorization number to 2. It means there are 2 commands issued. The first command is when you log in. That's the very first command, of course, the executive shell command. And then here, so the first command, shell exec, and the second one we have created, we went to config T. I can try a different command now just to make sure that you get it. VLAN, say 1000, and interface VLAN 1000. So there are now 2 commands being issued. We go to ClearPass and we can always double check. We have how many? 1000 VLAN, and this should be 4 commands in the summary. This is what we see as authorization commands. And of course, details of the requesting service, and remote IP is asynchronous. That's the IP of the switch from the ClearPass perspective, and so on. Right, you can also enable the AAA authentication and authorization on the switch. You can see the logs coming up on the interface of that switch. If we log in now with the junior admin, and I log in as junior admin, so which is the read only, if you like, admin. Now I get the mode here, user mode, right? To get in, I should not be able to get in because I'm told that I am only privilege level 1. And I will be rejected. So if you go back to ClearPass, you're going to see 2 entries, 1 rejected and 1, well, this is junior here. You can see summary here, authorization. We try to issue the command enable. Issue the command enable, that's fine, but then because I'm only allowed privilege level 1, I'm rejected here. I'm not allowed because I'm not authorized to do this. I'm only allowed privilege level 1 that will be sent back to actual ClearPass. So if you go and have a look, show privilege here, privilege level 1. So that's what we are. Now, so if I lose connection to the ClearPass, then I should be able to log in with a local user, local admin. Now, if I try to connect with a local admin, which is the one I created, and local password, that should be rejected because a ClearPass is reachable. In case ClearPass has a reachability issue, which we can test it now, then the local username or the local admin will work with no issues. So I disabled the uplink. You can see the status of the interface is down. So we can see now, we will looking with the local admin, that should work because connection to ClearPass has been lost. So I'm going to connect with the local admin and local password Cisco 123, and now I'm here. Now, you try to ping ClearPass from here, you will find it not pingable because we lost communication with the ClearPass, and the local admin now is able to use, we are able to use the local admin. So you always have local admin just in case you don't get locked out. Again, I will leave the Cisco configuration, the switch configuration in the comment underneath the video.